right, breaking news right now. A pursuit happening in the Granada Hills area. Stu with the details. Stu, good morning.
Good morning, Tony, and good morning to everybody. And the folks out in Granada Hills, it's probably a little noisy out here, especially if you're by the 118. Now, this is a pursuit that actually started in the Burbank area. Burbank PD chased this vehicle out of Burbank, down the westbound 118, turned around somewhere, and now we're heading back towards the Burbank area. The vehicle not moving very, very quickly. Now, that light that you see that's lighting up this car, that pickup truck, that is actually being brought to us by LAPD, the California Highway Patrol. I haven't actually seen them back there, but I would believe that they are somewhere. There they are behind that vehicle. Now, traffic very light on the 118 this morning, especially out in this area. We're approaching the 405 freeway. The reason why this vehicle is being chased, besides the fact that that vehicle did not stop for Burbank PD, is that the person behind the wheel is wanted for some sort of violence. I'm not sure exactly what they were saying about it, but apparently this person attacked another person, and that was the reason why they wanted to pull him over. Speeds very, very slow. I got the speedometer up for y'all so you can see that. Basically under the speed limit out here. California Highway Patrol behind that vehicle, LAPD above it. How they're going to pull this over? Well, at these speeds, they might be able to do a pit maneuver because the freeway is empty, but right now they're choosing just to follow this vehicle and see where they go. Hopefully that driver will have a change of heart and just pull over. Tony?
I think the emergency lights are on. It seems like, yes, those emergency lights are on. You know, you point out the fact that traffic, basically there is no traffic. There's no one really on the road. So police and CHP have the luxury of, I guess, time to let this play out and see how this goes before they attempt to do anything like a pit maneuver, which you just mentioned, Stu.
Definitely the time's on the side of the officers this morning, and you can see that freeway, especially the eastbound lanes, are almost wide open. And the fact that that vehicle moving so slowly, that's creating its own traffic break. California Highway Patrol, they've got 3 of their units there staggered behind that vehicle. And the slower that vehicle goes, the chances are higher that one of these officers might make the move up there and do a pit maneuver out here on the 118 freeway. There are no other vehicles around it right now. I can tell you that we're coming up onto the 405 here shortly, and it does, you know, the fact that he's over on that right lane, he has that opportunity to take that 405. Right now, though, just very slow moving. Why those hazards are on, not really sure. The driver might have hit it on accident there, but it's very slow moving this morning, and again, slow speed pursuit on the freeways. Probably not what a lot of folks in that are going to be taking the 118 or any of the freeways out here in the valley want to hear, because if this does come to an end, it might become a standoff, freeways might be closed. So right now, we're just kind of watching California Highway Patrol, like you said, time on their hands, so they can basically get behind it. There we go, moving off to the right. So this is going to give him some opportunities here on that 405 freeway. We'll see what he takes here in just a moment. Again, also, we just assume that the driver is male because we've heard them say that earlier on. But again, haven't seen that driver. California Highway Patrol right behind him. Looks like we're going to be taking the southbound 405 from the 118, and we're going to be in the Granada Hills area right now.
Well, and it's kind of interesting, perhaps even weird, that this particular driver is moving at such slow speed on a freeway.
Yeah, you know, I kind of wonder about that, too. It's a lot of times these drivers will drive this slow, maybe to conserve some fuel, or maybe they have a problem with their vehicle. That looks like a newer pickup truck. I don't think that that truck is having any problem. As we get onto the 405 southbound, I just want to double-check that, make sure that we are on the southbound 405. Dylan, he's our pilot this morning at the tiller, basically just telling me, yep, we are definitely southbound 405. There's a lot more traffic out here, and I'm kind of wondering how the California Highway Patrol is going to handle that. They were staggering their vehicles earlier on to do that traffic break and kind of just allow that pickup truck to drive at its own speeds, and they are doing the same thing here. You have 3 of them there taking up those 4 or 5 lanes, and another California Highway Patrol, that's actually called a polar bear, the all-white ones right there. You see that one is actually going to be doing what looks like starting a round robin, so they're actually going to create more of a traffic break for their officers. Again, that vehicle just moving very slowly, creating a lot of problems for a lot of the other folks out here this morning. Southbound 405, and apparently a violent suspect behind the wheel.
You know, we point out the fact that this pickup is moving so slowly, but we don't know. There might be something wrong with the pickup.
I'm sorry about that, Roxy. You got covered by another radio. I did hear the word about the pickup truck. I don't know if that's any of the reasons why they don't use the pit maneuver, or they're not approaching it. A pickup truck is probably easier to get behind and do that pit maneuver. If that was your question, I'm sorry. Like I said, you were covered by another radio. But it's an assault suspect. So this person apparently is violent, or did actually attacked another person earlier on. We haven't heard about any weapons, which is a real plus. So California Highway Patrol, if they do that pit maneuver and spin it around, there isn't going to be that fear of that suspect being armed and being able to shoot at officers. Right now, though, the speeds we're going, they're a little high for that pit maneuver technically. But with an open freeway like this and our officers from the California Highway Patrol being as trained as they are, it might be an option. But right now, they're just going to follow this vehicle. Hopefully this person is just going to get off the freeway, pull over, give himself up. And again, that light that you see right there, that night sun lighting it up, looks like we're going to be getting off the freeway here. I don't know exactly, but I would guess this is going to be either, I don't think it's Devonshire. I think this is actually going to be Nordoff is going to be the off-ramp, the first one that you can take off the 118. So maybe he's going to be pulling over, but at least he's getting off the freeway. That's a plus for any of the commuters this morning.
Yeah, Stu, what I was saying was that you didn't hear me. I just said maybe something was wrong with the pickup. Maybe that's why the vehicle was moving so slowly. We don't really know. That could be a possibility.
It could be. There's definitely that possibility, but now it seems like he is picking up speed just a little bit. We got off the freeway. We're on Nordoff. We're making our way over towards Sepulveda Boulevard. Now, this is one of the ones where I'm always very curious about how far the California Highway Patrol will follow it, and if they're going to give this vehicle up, or the LAPD is going to take it over. Right now, though, just back onto the streets, and we're making our way, like I said, over to Sepulveda Boulevard, getting in that left turn lane. Traffic so light this morning. This is a huge plus for law enforcement, and again, we'll see what they do with this. The hazard's still on. I gotta wonder, though, maybe the driver of that vehicle doesn't even know that those hazards are on, and nope, they are still flashing. And right now, we're making our way northbound on Sepulveda. Here comes that pit maneuver. Whoa! Right there. Oh, that was not expected. That was not expected at all. That vehicle up onto two wheels there as he made his way and hit that fence. That curb basically offsetting that weight. California Highway Patrol getting around it, but boy, they did not waste any time. As soon as he got off that freeway and the speeds were right, they initiated that pit maneuver. Right now, I'm sure those officers are going to give that driver a few moments to kind of recover from that. That's the spare tire that's sitting out there on the sidewalk. Officers from California Highway Patrol, weapons out. Again, an assault suspect. They haven't said anything about any weapons, but right now, this is the tense moments, and that driver probably shook, and I was a little bit. I was kind of shocked that it went up on two wheels like that, and you can see it now. It's just sitting there. We're on Sepulveda Boulevard. This is going to be northbound lanes just north of Nordoff, definitely North Hills area. Right now, they're probably giving that driver a few moments to kind of just get himself reacquainted on where he is and what just happened. But you can see California Highway Patrol not playing this morning. A lot of weapons out down there, a lot of commands being yelled at, and you can see that driver get hands out of the windows right there. I'm going to see if we can get Dylan to move Skyfox around just a little bit, so maybe we can get a better shot. But it definitely looks like that driver now complying. And my goodness, what a wake-up call that was.
Yeah, and again, this started in Burbank as a weapons offense, and anytime I would imagine, Stu, that law enforcement gets a call about a weapons offense, they're going to be on guard.
Definitely, and Tony, that that information is a little different from what we got from the assignment desk. We just heard the words assault. I didn't hear anything about any weapons, but if there are weapons involved, then they are definitely on heightened alert. As soon as that word comes out that there's a gun involved, law enforcement is going to take that extremely seriously, as they do any of their calls. Right now, though, these officers are out here, and you can see those weapons drawn, and they're going to try to make that approach. I threw in the doubler just to get a little closer there, but it is still dark out this morning. You can see one of those officers has a shield, and of course they're going to try to make that approach. Perhaps that driver telling them right now can't get out after that pit maneuver. Maybe there's some damage to the door, but you can see these officers. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Something changed. Something changed. Let's keep coming around there, Dylan. I want to see what's going on the driver's side. Is something changed because they definitely were making that approach and then stopped and backed up. So maybe that driver trying to make his way out of the window on his own, but definitely definitely tense moments here for those officers. And then what that driver's doing inside that vehicle, well, that really is the big question right now. Everything hinges on that. If he goes into custody or this ends in a different way.
Well, and I mean, the fact of the matter is, and this is the thing that you always think of when you see situations like this, is this could all have been avoided.
Yes.
I mean,
of course.
we didn't need to end up in the situation that we're in right now where, these law enforcement officers are very tense. They don't know what's happening inside that vehicle, Stu. And so they have to be extremely cautious, and they just don't know.
Yeah. And that's the thing that a lot of these law enforcement, these guys have to work on that split-second decision-making, and it has to be correct every time. I was wrong. That's actually the wheel from the backside of the truck that actually came off. I thought that was a spare from under the vehicle, but you definitely see hands out of the car, and this is the reason why he can't get out of that vehicle. You can see a lot of damage there to that driver's side door. Now, those officers, they're all poised. I actually don't even see any less than lethal. All these officers have their weapons drawn. There's actually another one out over here as well. They've got this vehicle very well covered. Those hands continue to stay out, but again, every now and then he does move inside that vehicle, and I'm sure that's what the officers are not happy about right now. Unclear what he's doing in there. Maybe he's talking on the phone. Maybe he has some minor injuries from that pit maneuver and almost a rollover, but you can see him there kind of leaning over, and he's got showing both hands. Definitely showing both hands, one in the windshield and one out the door. But right now, how do you get that suspect out and possibly armed, as you said, Tony, so safely, where they can have the officers, safe, and they can make sure that that suspect doesn't reach for a weapon? Right now, standoff going on as officers are trying to get that suspect out of that vehicle. North Hills. This is going to be on Sepulveda northbound, just north of Nordoff, and you can see officers have that surrounded. LAPD hasn't been asked for assistance. That's the reason why they're not making their way here. But all those all those officers from California Highway Patrol that were on the freeway, they're all here now. Even that polar bear unit, and they got this vehicle surrounded. And they're probably calling this guy out. Just tell him to get out of the vehicle, or they're trying to figure out a way. Maybe he can slide across, get out on the passenger side. But right now, he's the suspect, not in cuffs, and this is definitely not over.
I know, it's always fascinating to see how this plays out because we can't hear what they're saying down below. We just watch the body language and try to figure this out because it appears that perhaps there's something wrong with that door. That suspect is unable to open that door to get out. So you wonder, are they going to go from the other side? Are they going to approach the vehicle and open the door for him? But that can be very risky, and at this point they have to take the utmost precaution.
Definitely, and these officers, they're trained, and they're also trained to not escalate a situation. They're trained to de-escalate all the time, but this is very tense right now. As Tony pointed out, possibility of an armed suspect. You can see these officers getting behind those doors. Many of those doors actually have ballistic plates in there, meaning that they are not bulletproof, but let's just say that it's harder for the bullets to get through there. Right now, though, they get officers making their way over there. Not sure what just happened, but you can see that suspect's still inside that vehicle and now not showing his hands. That's not what they want to see at all. And you can see him kind of moving around in there. But those officers, they're calling him out. They want to get him out of that vehicle as quickly as possible, get those cuffs on him. But they definitely are not making an approach. So really wondering what changed down there. They were just all ready to just walk up and get that suspect out of the vehicle. And then all of a sudden, everybody stopped and everything changed.
Now, so we have to assume on some level they are attempting to or are actually engaging in some type of communication with the suspect.
I'm sorry, Tony. I was actually just listening. They got LAPD. They're going to be switching out aircraft. I'm not sure. I think we need to make another orbit here. Something definitely changed inside that vehicle. We're going to move Skyfox around to the other side just to kind of get a better idea of what just happened there, because now all of a sudden that suspect seems to just be sitting there. So I am worried that this might have changed for the worse. Hopefully we'll see this guy move here in just a moment or two.
What's he doing? It seems like he's moving around in there, or is it just my vantage point?
Yeah, you know, it's both of our vantage points. I'm really trying to figure out what's going on inside that vehicle. He had his hands out, both sides. Those officers made a change in their positions. You can see some of the making their way over to the passenger side. Maybe they're calling him out. Maybe he's trying to undo his seatbelt and just crawl across that crawl across to the passenger side.
Well,
but right now.
Well, Stu,
Tony?
you also see those officers. At first, they were in a very defensive stance with their weapons drawn and everything, and now you see them sort of milling off there to the side. They don't look as though they're taking cover.
No, they're taking cover, Tony. Look at these guys. They are definitely taking cover. And you know, that's the thing. We can't hear what they're saying down there. We can, and sometimes we can hear them on the scanner, but we just have to read their body language. We have to figure out what is going on, and they have become extremely tense as that suspect is not putting his hands out and does seem like he's moving around inside that vehicle. Again, you know, it could be completely innocent. This person could be just trying to unhook himself, climb across, and make his way over to the
They're approaching the vehicle again.
Here we go. There's the. Yep, they're making that approach again. And again, this guy, you can see him in there. And is he trying to get free of his seatbelt? What is exactly going on? They're breaking out the window right there. I'm going to take that chance and push in, and because it does seem more like that suspect unable to get out more than refusing to get out. But look at those officers. One has got the weapon out. The other one's breaking out the window. They're trying to open up the door, and that suspect basically just kind of leaning over like he's trying to get out of the vehicle. Whoa! He broke the door handle. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. And definitely got his hands up, and they're wrestling with him. They just wanted to get him out of that vehicle. And now the fight begins. There we go. Helping him out and putting him on the ground. There we go. Officers using that tactic where they basically just use their full bodies to push him down on the ground, and all he had to do, Tony, like you said, from go, is just this could have been all avoided. Just pull over when they got behind you. But right now, still resisting a little bit as California Highway Patrol taking that suspect into custody. But now this is coming to an end out here in the North Hills area.
And you're watching GDLA at 5:30 right now. And if you just joined us, we are watching what started as a slow-speed pursuit, ended in the pit maneuver being deployed, and the crash that resulted from that pit maneuver. It was a pretty wild, violent crash.
Watch it right now if you missed it. There you see the pit maneuver, and the pickup spins there, and I guess it hit the curb, and that's where it lost some balance and lost the back wheel.
Yeah.
You see that back wheel flew off. Yeah. And that's kind of how it ended. It just took a while for that suspect to
be taken into custody.
And to come out of the vehicle. Well, he had to be helped out of the vehicle. The door was jammed.
Dragged out of the vehicle.
And for a moment there, we were thinking maybe he's injured because he can't get out. But it seems like he's okay.
We should keep in mind that this started as a weapons offense call in Burbank. So anytime, you know, I would imagine law enforcement hears about a weapon being involved, they're going to be super cautious. So,
Stu, Sky Fox crew, thanks so much for that coverage there. We are going to pick it up and move on.